Good morning and welcome to Face to Face. As you know, every Thursday, so from 11:15 onwards, we talk about important things on Face to Face, and today it is just that. Today in the studio, we have a technologist, Jonathan Kovilpillai, and we are going to be talking about generative AI. Now, he is the chairman of the Summit Organizing Committee and manager of the APU UNESCO chair. All right, welcome to the studio, Mr. Jonathan. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, KJ. Thank you for having me here. Good morning to all.
Good morning. Right, so artificial intelligence. Now, this is something that has been, the keyword, the buzzword that's been going on for quite some time now. Everybody seems to be very interested in it. And even just looking at the field of mainstream AI, we see a lot of changes ever since it became what we would call mainstream, like maybe a couple of years ago. Right, so let's talk about artificial intelligence. Tell us more about artificial intelligence and how has it changed the way we do things since its very first application?
Sure. So a lot of people may not know this, but artificial intelligence has been around since the 1950s. In fact, since when this scientist called Alan Turing published what's today known as the Turing test. He basically said in an interview like this, if I'm talking to you and I'm talking to a machine, and I cannot distinguish between the machine's response and your response, the machine has passed the Turing test.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of artificial intelligence. That's the 50s.
Yeah.
Over the years, it's developed tremendously. It is in many applications today. A lot of us use things like GPS. We use automatic controls, a lot of things. These are all controlled by various types of AI.
Right. So, and one form of it would be generative AI. And this is something very interesting because generative AI, as a subset itself, it's, a lot of people are afraid of it. A lot of people want to try it. A lot of people don't seem to understand what it is. So can you tell us what is generative AI?
Sure. So first of all, generative AI, it's become popular, as you said, mainstream very recently in the last couple of years. In fact, 2022 end when OpenAI launched ChatGPT. Why it's become so popular is because it's now so simple to use, where you just type a question like you're having a chat with a friend on instant messaging. Previously, in order to interact with the AI, you'd need to know a little bit of coding.
Yep.
But generative AI is basically the subset or component of AI that can create content.
Yeah.
The reason why it took off and exploded and became such a big thing is because of the simplicity of interacting with it.
Right. So, and even in terms of not only in just like, say, chatting or something like that, generative AI is also now found in visuals. Like, for instance, with one of those very famous photo editing software.
DALL-E?
No, I think it's Photoshop.
Photoshop?
Yeah. Even Photoshop has parts where you can essentially fill in your background with something else, depending on what your focus is. Right. So that is very interesting because for the common layman, they cannot understand how is it doing it, right? But there's of course something very interesting behind it, how it's coded and all of that. Now let's talk about the differences between artificial intelligence itself and generative artificial intelligence.
Thanks, KJ. Before I go into your last question, you mentioned that it's embedded in many things like Photoshop. It's embedded in so many things.
Yeah.
Just yesterday evening, a colleague of mine sent a text saying that his text messaging is now embedded with Gemini AI.
Oh, wow.
So it is going into a lot of things. Microsoft Word, when you type, you can always there's always a button there which says improve with AI.
Wow.
With the paid Office 365 versions and all that. So it is being embedded into all our everyday applications. Every day there are new applications being used. But to look at the difference between AI and generative AI, generative AI is actually a subset. It is a very small subset of a larger
network,
multifaceted artificial intelligence, which is made up of things like computer vision, airport security, facial recognition. These use computer vision. Right? Then there are things like fuzzy logic, another tech term. But in our everyday application, things like GPS uses it. When sometimes today people don't use GPS just to go to new places, they use GPS to even check traffic to go to familiar places. So the fuzzy logic behind that works out the fastest, most optimum route for you to take. Machine learning. All our phones, all our devices now come with speech to text. You can actually just speak instead of typing. And those systems actually start to learn to recognize you and your speech patterns over time. So they are used in various fields, but generative AI is specially focused on generating new content. So that could be in terms of text, that could be in terms of images, that could be in terms of music.
Yes.
There was even talk of one of our radio stations which had an AI.
Yeah, actually,
DJ.
we had one of the first. We actually right here in Tracks. Approximately August last year, we came up with our first full documentary, all powered by generated voices and all of that. So we were the first to do that. Except there's another radio station, I believe, that's doing a AI show, but I'm not too sure about that.
I mean, it's being used, like in our case, in education. Typically, when we create education content videos, it used to take us 3 working days.
3 working days minimum. All right. Okay.
By the time you get the script, you get somebody to edit the script, and then you get the person in front, record it, you find your own visuals, etc.
Yeah.
And especially, like when you put somebody in front of a camera, even with the script in front, still will. But anyway, with the AI, we have cut down video production time from 18 hours, 3 working days, to 2 hours if you're a brand new user. You're familiar with the tool, you can create a video in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Wow, that is very interesting. Even right here in our very own station, we do have a software that we use that can essentially create your playlist for a month. Within the last time I tested it out, it was within 2 minutes. And that usually takes multiple producers across over the month to set that up. But then just by putting in parameters and all that, it can create it. So one of the best things that I've seen with things like this is the reduction of time usage. Yeah, it's amazing.
Correct. It saves a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. Okay, Mr. Jonathan, what we're going to do, we're going to be taking a short break. We're going to be back in a few moments. And of course, there's a lot more to talk about because this is a very interesting topic for me as well because I love it. I love to see how generative AI can be used in multiple different fields. I love AI itself. So, to our listeners, we are currently speaking to technologist Jonathan Kovilpillai, who's the chairman of the Summit Organizing Committee and manager of the APU UNESCO Chair. We're talking about generative AI right here on Tracks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back, and today we are talking about generative AI on Face to Face with our guest technologist Jonathan Kovilpillai, and he's the chairman of the Summit Organizing Committee and manager of the APU UNESCO Chair. And now, off air, we were speaking quite a bit about how the generative AI works, what it's like a mainstream application. Let's talk about it in terms of education. What does generative AI specifically mean for education, Mr. Jonathan?
I think, KG, among the many industries or fields that AI is touching, among the many fields, education is one of the most that's benefiting from it. For example, for teachers, it simply means now that content can be generated with much more ease than before. What we always like to tell the teacher as a caveat is, use it to save time. From our experience, I'm with a unit in the university called the Digital Learning Hub. Our job is to help the schools and help teachers with digital learning. And one of the challenges we always find is the teachers lack time to do the most important thing, which is teaching, which is spending time with the students. Because they're doing all creating lessons, all the other supplementary things which are important.
The lesson plans alone.
Lesson plans, And we find that with generative AI, it takes away that burden, because now I can use generative AI as my teaching assistant to help develop lesson plans, to help develop streamlined content, to help develop content that is contextual to a location. Example, we were in Gua Musang a couple of months back conducting a workshop for the local teachers there. And we could actually come up with images and videos that had contextually correct. It used locations around Gua Musang as the backdrops for the video. So those kind of things are easy to create. Our focus on AI for education is basically more on the usage of it. I think I was just telling you the analogy earlier. We're not worried about teachers not knowing how the technology works. What is the back end of the technology? What is computer vision? What is machine? These are things that are not important for the teacher. Like I said, we just need to know that the knife can cut the fruit. We don't need to know what metal or what ceramic goes into making the knife.
True.
Right?
True.
So in that way, we find that generative AI really helps teachers. I can give you a few examples. The time that it takes to create a video, an educational video, can go up to about 18 hours, which is 3 working days. The time it takes to write a script, to check the script, to get the person, or to find the background visuals, and then to finally make the video and render it. It takes time. But with AI, we have now managed to cut down that time to, if a person is new to the software, 2 hours. If the person gets a little bit more familiar, we have even pushed the envelope a little bit, 30 minutes. You can create a solid, real, pedagogically sound video for the class. And the best part is, this video or this image that you have now created using generative AI becomes unique. Previously, if teachers didn't want to make videos, they'd go to YouTube and find videos.
True.
But when you find videos, you find that a 10-minute video, you may only need 1 minute of that content for your particular purpose. The rest of it, now you got to waste time trimming, or you make your students waste time watching the whole thing, and then tell them just focus on the 1 minute. But now I can make just that 1 minute, which is specially focused, unique to that lesson. So it really is an assistant, like a teaching assistant to us.
And with this generative AI, is it would be this slightly off key a bit? Does it need to be proprietary software, or is it already readily available?
Good question. So readily available would be things like your ChatGPTs and your Google Geminis or Claude. These are the LLMs that are readily available, and they're available for free as well. Although always there's limitations.
There's always the paid
version. The paid version gives you meta and etc. But these are the open. Similarly, video making software, image generating software, they all have now embedded AI into it. And a lot of them use the same model. They have free, but there's some limitations. Like some of them will have limitations, like you can only make 3 videos in a month on the free version. But we have a very supporting management who they've taken our. We go do the fact finding. We say these are the tools that we want to use, and they've been very supportive, and they've actually subscribed to 2 or 3 of these AI tools that make our life as educators so much more easier.
Wow. Yeah. Right. So it's available, but if you want to be even more extreme, then you can pay for it.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So now, of course, the ASEAN Stakeholder Summit. Now, what is this all about? Please tell us more about the ASEAN Stakeholder Summit.
So, first of all, the full name of the summit is the ASEAN Stakeholder Summit on Generative AI for Education.
Wow.
Right? So, the focus is the keyword stakeholder. So, who are the stakeholders? What we've identified is that education stakeholders are basically anyone who has a stake in education. Teachers, students, people who run academic institutions, the ministry people who create regulations, policies for education, even education technology companies. They are also a stakeholder. And then we've got education NGOs. So there are a lot of people who have an interest in education. And this summit is our attempt to actually bring these stakeholders together. To bring them together to discuss challenges, because teachers have their own challenges, students have their own challenges, ministries or people who run colleges, universities have their own challenges. And how we came to know about these challenges since the middle of last year, under the APU UNESCO chair, we've actually run training for close to 4,000 people.
Wow.
In over 11 countries. School teachers, higher education teachers, researchers, etc. And we've picked up some things. And what we're trying to do is bring people together, put your challenges, your difficulties, not just challenges, difficulties, but even opportunities or best practices on the table. Let us all look at it. And let us all collectively try to find solutions and way forward. But what we're doing in order to get that to happen is, for the last 6 weeks or so, we have been running a regional-wide survey. Among the 11 ASEAN countries, a survey that covers the stakeholders I mentioned earlier. So if you're a student, you'll answer questions related to student. If you're a teacher, you answer questions. And from that survey, we're actually building up what are the major challenges around the ASEAN region. Because ASEAN is a very diverse region.
Yeah.
You have some countries where so advanced. You have some countries where they're not so advanced, or they may even have other challenges like connectivity issues, etc. So this diverse region, our aim is to make everybody, the whole region, move together with this new powerful tool. We just want to bring everyone together, discuss challenges, and then see if we can find common ground. If there's a problem, what are some solutions? If there are best practices, can they be shared with others? So that is the fundamental basic reason for the ASEAN Stakeholder Summit on Generative AI for Education. It's a mouthful, but it is a mouthful.
You need to find an acronym for it.
We have, but when you put the letters, it doesn't really sound so.
Okay, I understand the problem there. Yeah. Maybe AI can help you.
Yeah, probably. but it's all there. It's the Stakeholder Summit. So it's a summit of stakeholders. And anybody who's a stakeholder is invited. We've invited edtech companies, we're inviting education ministries, we're inviting embassies from the ASEAN countries. But we're keeping it very ASEAN because we feel that there's a lot of advice, input on AI from the West. And some of it, as good as it is, not dishing anything, but it may not suit the ASEAN sentiments. It might not suit the ASEAN requirements.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, so we need something from the ground that represents ASEAN, and that's where the idea for the summit came about from.
Yeah, and this is more of finding a solution that fits every single part of the region.
Correct.
And wow, that is interesting because, as you said, the ASEAN sentiment is completely different from the West, especially when it comes to some forms of education, the cultural aspect of it. Yeah, so it is quite interesting that this is being put forward. And if you don't mind me asking, is this the first time that this summit is being held?
This is the first time.
Oh, wow, that is interesting. Right, so let's talk about the benefits. Who will benefit from the ASEAN Stakeholder Summit? And I think we've answered the why, the need for it. Yep. So, who would benefit from the ASEAN Stakeholder Summit?
I would say the stakeholders that I mentioned earlier. Teachers will benefit. Students will benefit. Ministries will benefit. Education leaders will benefit. NGOs, even at tech companies, when you know what your ASEAN customers need, then you can customize your product to them.
Yeah.
I'll give you a real example. I mentioned earlier about the software that creates videos and images. Unfortunately, they're still very biased.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I think anybody talking about AI would know about this thing about bias output, and it's still there. So it's very difficult to create that video I mentioned earlier with that with that Gua Musang example, because it doesn't know what Gua Musang people look like. Yeah. So although it gave me nice streets in Gua Musang, it gave images of the hills of Gua Musang. So when it came to people, suddenly we had very Eurasian or European looking people. So that bias is there. So summits like this which bring up these issues then help these education technology companies to know that, hey, look, we need to address this as well. Maybe we need to go back to our training models and train them on more diverse people, etc. So all of these stakeholders we feel will benefit because the output from the summit will become the ASEAN centric basis for the use of Gen AI. And what we are hoping is that people will be able to use the tool responsibly, ethically and professionally. I just want to add on this because one of the fears that people have is that, for example, students, what if they're just copying or giving my question to the AI tool and say, give me the answer. And then copy paste that answer. Now, so this challenges academic integrity. So how then do we train our students to use it ethically, to use it properly?
As a supplement rather than the whole course itself.
Correct, as an assistant. On the teacher's side, how do we train our teachers? We know that we need to change how we assess students. Right? So how do we then train teachers to think about different ways of assessment? So we are hoping that these are the things that come up. And these are the things that we are seeing coming up because like I said, the survey has been running for about 6 weeks now. So a lot of data is coming in from around ASEAN. And these are some of the things that are being picked up, assessment areas, etc. Okay, so yes, to answer your question short, everybody, all stakeholders will benefit. And Malaysia, we want Malaysia to benefit as the
leader of it.
ASEAN leader. I think maybe not many people know that next year Malaysia is the ASEAN chair. So this gives a chance for Malaysia to take the lead in this initiative.
I think culturally we are more than fit and diverse enough for us to take the lead because in terms of cultural diversity is there, in terms of education standards is already there, and in terms of tech adoption is already way higher than most other countries right now. But Mr. Jonathan, what we're going to do is we're going to take another short break. We're going to be back in a bit. We are currently speaking about generative AI with technologist Jonathan Kovilpillai. We will be right back. welcome back to Tracks Face to Face on Momentum. We are talking to technologist Jonathan Kovilpillai, the chairman of the Summit Organizing Committee on Gen AI for Education and also manager of the APU UNESCO Chair. Now, Mr. Jonathan, what is your expectation from this summit?
I think to start to answer this question, I need to address, I did mention that I'm with the unit called the Digital Learning Hub, and we're also part of the UNESCO Chair. The charter for the APU UNESCO Chair is basically to harness innovations in technology to support teachers and quality education. That's our charter. That's our reason for existence. So we want to harness any latest developments technology to make life a little bit more better for teachers and to increase the quality of education. Now, this is important because this ties in with SDGs, SDG 4, which is education for all, quality education. Yeah, and with that, I think our expectation is that the entire ASEAN region must benefit from this powerful new tool. This is a very powerful new tool, generative AI. It is not being used to its max because of certain things like maybe fear, maybe I don't know how to use. Maybe wrong usage. So we want this summit to address these things, empower teachers so that everyone has got the means to maximize the usage of generative AI for education.
Right. And also to increase transparency of the fact of generative AI itself, like as you said, the ethics of it and all of that. So it's kind of cool because so much more to learn, so much more to explore. And this is an interesting question, I think. Where are we at the moment in the world of AI? What do you think we can expect in the future?
I mean, pulling it back to the summit, what we want people to take away from the summit is basically, we will publish the findings of this entire research and the discussions, etc., because we are working closely together with the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization.
Oh, wow.
Called CMU.
Yeah.
Right. So we will publish these findings together with them, which will then be available to all ASEAN countries. It is not a rule book. It is more of a guideline suggestions. If this is your challenge, this is what you can do, and based on experiences from the countries that participated. So we want that to become a takeaway. We also hope that the stakeholder summit will become a yearly affair. So that for two reasons. One, we want to see the improvements yearly, what's happening in education across the region, and two, it'll be good if other ASEAN countries can take turns to host it. Like we have the Commonwealth Head of Governments meeting in different countries. CMU is under ASEAN. They can also have this stakeholder summit yearly in different parts of ASEAN.
My personal opinion, I think it will happen because a year in AI is crazy long.
There you go, exactly.
And the growth is crazy. Like just 2 years ago, like this is my personal experience, just 2 years ago, for you to generate a picture, it always turns out either garbled or it will turn out rather disconcerting. But right now, they're generating videos, especially with the new Sora. Sora, which means sky in Japanese. That AI is generating videos that is indistinguishable from real life videos. And I am actually looking forward to getting my hands on that, but I think it's still in the beta or the alpha phase.
At the moment, it's only being released to
early adopters.
Creatives, I think. Not even early adopters. Creatives, those in the media industry, etc., which means you should be able to ask for it.
I need to write a letter. But that is true. It is interesting to see what we can do with it, especially even in media, the adoption of AI. I think there is already a move towards it. Now, before we end for today, Mr. Jonathan, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I really would like to say two things. One is for those who are listening, what we always tell people when we train them, especially if you're a teacher listening, don't be afraid of AI. AI will not replace you.
It won't.
Right? It won't. AI will never replace you. But someone using AI might replace you. If you don't. Am I allowed to thank some people who...
for sure. By all means.
I really need to thank MDAC, the Malaysian Digital Economic Corporation, and AWS for their sponsorship of the summit, and for their support of the summit. Of course, the Asia Pacific University, CMU, the Southeast Asian Ministers, some of the ministries involved have been very supportive in giving us ideas, and of course to you guys here at TRAXXfm for bringing this out.
All right, not a problem. Public. All right, not a problem at all. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan. And we hope to see you again in the future. And that brings us to the end of our interview for today.
Thank you.
All right. For our listeners, today we spoke about generative AI, one subset of artificial intelligence, with our guest, technologist Jonathan Kovilpillai. And he is the chairman of the Summit Organizing Committee on Gen AI for Education and also manager of the APU UNESCO chair. And with that, this comes to an end. I'll be back in the next hour. My name is KG. Don't go anywhere. You're currently listening to Momentum on TRAXXfm. Hope you guys are having a good one.